You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a tutti.
What's up, Juventus? Welcome back to the AJC, your channel dedicated to the one and only Vecchia Signora Juventus. I am Alberto. We've got Omer and Trim with me, ready to rock. Hope you're all doing well. Omer, Trim, how you guys doing today?
Great. Easy Saturday, quiet. Been waiting for the podcast and the matches in the evening.
There you go. Trim, how's it going? Canada with a victory over Venezuela yesterday. A little kicks.
Man. Yeah, it was well, first of all, it's a good morning so far. It was a good game last night, actually. Watching that, it came down to kicks, but yeah, the better team deserved to win. Canada did play better throughout the entirety of the game, and a little bit closer for our comfort, but they got the job done. And at this point, any progress is good progress for the team. So we'll see how they fare against Argentina on Tuesday. Should be good.
Oh yeah, you're playing with free money now, so it is what it is. Maybe we can take a chunk out of a few of them, and who knows? But it's good for the program, anyways. But speaking of good for the program, we got business with Juve. We are going to take a second, say what's up to everybody that's in the live chat. As you're rolling in here, all right, get those likes in on the video, all right, ways to support the channel. Obviously, we got the merch. We've got Super Chat enabled, but become a member. You could become a member as well. We've got the private WhatsApp chat there, and that place is... it's fiery to say the least, all right? Now, everybody's really fired up in the comments, I could see, about what is this big mistake from Giuntoli? What is this fumble? Well, that's not what we're saying. That is what's being dictated by the fan base, as obviously we had to make a shift, okay? So Juve had to make a shift in its plans because it seems like Calafiori is bye-bye. And there are still a lot of supporters out there, okay, that don't feel that Koopmeiners should be the priority for Juventus, okay? And Giuntoli fumbled by not making Calafiori that priority and spending that money there. And there is more to this Giuntoli fumble, this Giuntoli mistake in terms of Fede Chiesa and that. So we're going to tie this into, because there's a whole nother overlying issue over it all, that is the Italian connection from Juve and losing that. And one of the biggest things from it is Giuntoli moving towards these foreigners and not keeping that Italian kind of base there. This is the main and the biggest kind of feelings and sentiments amongst the fan base around right now. So we're going to tackle it right out of the gate. We're not going to drag you on. We're not going to wait, okay? We're going to fire it out right off the hop, okay? So the money that would have been put to, obviously, is going to be put into Koopmeiners. Many felt Calafiori. It was critical for Juve to bring him in, and he is the next up-and-coming Italian talent, and Italian talent should stay in Italy, and Juve should be having the best Italian players. Now, the whole Calafiori scenario. Omer, was this a major fumble from Giuntoli? Because one of the sentiments is we should have struck earlier on and finalized the deal. Go.
Okay, so it's a bit tricky. I don't think it's a fumble. I won't call it a fumble. It sucks that we can't have him, but I'm actually kind of proud Juve stuck to their guns and didn't go, breaking their own rules the minute they couldn't get the guy they wanted. I'm not even blaming Bologna. They're in the Champions League. They got stripped of their coach. Xerxes is leaving. Calafiori too. They need to build a team. I'm not blaming them for asking for more money, especially with the resale percentage. Um, but it's not the be all end all. It's not the only defender out there. Fine, we couldn't get our target. 2 years ago, we got Bremer out of the blue in a weak swoop. He was already destined for interest. Sometimes you get the deals you want. Sometimes they slip out of your hand. Arsenal offered him a bigger contract, and the only thing that really irritates me about it is the Bologna attitude of we don't want to sell to Juve, and that's why they'll disappear and go back to 10th place and wouldn't be able to maintain what they've got going right now because they're still playing children's game, and it happens to a lot of teams across Italy. Fiorentina, they would sell to anyone but to do deals with us and to strengthen Juve. And that's why Atalanta, for example, they learn to let it go and they do business like a professional football club, and that's why they're at the top of their game for a long time. So, yeah, we lost Calafiori. It's not the end of the world. We can get someone else. Midfield is the priority. It's always been since the beginning, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Okay. And Trim, was that a fumble?
No, I don't think it was a fumble. Obviously, he was one of our, I wouldn't say priority targets, but one guy that the fan base as a whole, and I'm sure management and Motta really wanted. Obviously, Motta has close ties with him and getting to work with him last season. But yeah, no, the player in the end, ultimately, the player chose to give his word and his will to another club. So you can't really fault Juve for that. To the people who are saying that they wish that Juve struck earlier on the player, if I'm not mistaken, the reports have been saying they've had his will or an agreement since February, and then last minute he changed his mind. And it's mainly because of Bologna's stance, right? Like if they didn't want to sell to Juve, what is Juve going to do? Really offer more money and overpay even more? Like we're already splitting hairs here and arguing that we're over, like Arsenal, or we would have been overpaying in the beginning, right? So, yeah, I don't think it's a fumble. Like majority, I'm reading the comments. Majority of the fans seem to be saying and agreeing with us that if anything, it's a fumble on the player, and it is what it is. At this point, he's deciding to leave, but this will create an opportunity for someone else now. So, Al, you've mentioned we have Giallo kind of waiting in the wings. We still have Gatti, and who knows? There's somebody else. Could be somebody else out there on the market. Like I know you've mentioned in previous shows in the past weeks about Todibo, and I actually really am intrigued by that name. If it's still an option, we can bring in someone like that at a lesser price. But then also we're forgetting there's still Dean Huijsen. We still own him. There is still a chance that obviously we're gonna move him on, right? But I read something earlier that there's a chance that in training we're going to be holding on to him and Motta is going to be watching Huijsen. So it doesn't necessarily mean he's gone. Obviously he'll fetch a fair deal, fair price tag, right? So we'll have to wait and see. But no, it's definitely not a fumble in my eyes.
Yeah, if I'm looking at this situation and I've been like steady the entire way through, look, you got the player's priority. You needed his will to push to try and get away from this price. But from an Italian talent perspective, as everybody is like, we cannot let this guy escape. It's very, very difficult because number one, if the player wants to go there and he's willing to go there, that's kind of one of the issues. Another one of the issues that was here is the fact that Basel has such a massive sell-on clause in this move, and for Bologna to try, I have no problems with Bologna doing what they did because there were some that said, well, look, they had the price agreed around 30 million euro mark and then Bologna went and increased it, whatever. Well, that's their prerogative though. That's their prerogative. At the end of the day, whether they wanted to go after the 50 or 60 million and take him out of Italy, he still has to agree to that as a player. So if he has done that, then it is what it is. Giuntoli did what he could. But to chase him and say we needed to put that money into him instead of Koopmeiners, I disagree with. And obviously, as you guys would have seen the YouTube short I put out there, for me, like what's interesting is you still have Calafiori who's got this breakout year behind him. But if you splash and this guy doesn't hit, that's a major, major problem. Now, what has the higher percentage of working out? A midfielder who's been solid for years, who is second only to Çalhanoğlu right now currently in Serie A, or this young kid who's trending right now at the moment but still has a lot to prove. If you're going to take one big chunk of money and you're going to look at our team, I know exactly what I am going to consider less of a risk looking at those two players, those profiles, and what this team currently needs. Because again, if you're going to look at, let's say we don't land Koopmeiners, who plays in that role? Well, you have Yildiz, and we are going to talk about Yildiz in a bit because I have some interesting feelings around Yildiz, okay? And then you have Fagioli, who we were hoping to see a breakout year from last season, and obviously we know what went down. We didn't get it, but there is still this, not really a ton of question marks there, but is he able to bear that weight? Or you bring in a guy like Koopmeiners and you let them work those roles together in terms of bringing the offense out of the middle of the park without Calafiori. Okay, so there was a little bit of a thing with Bremer there yesterday. We found out today it's nothing, okay? Bremer's not going anywhere, everybody. It's fine, okay? Calma. Now, Thiago Giallo. Those two guys. Calafiori coming out of this breakout year, and then when Giallo drew all the attention from Inter, Juve, Atletico, etc., their scouting reports are identical. Giallo gives up a bit to Calafiori aerially, but everywhere else across the board, it is like reading the exact same scouting report for these guys. 6'3" for Thiago Giallo, 6'2" for Calafiori. Exceptional pace, both players. Great at positioning, both players. Positional versatility in positions where you could play, both of those guys, except Giallo could play the right side as well and on the flank. Massive, massive, because we are looking for fullbacks as well as we speak. Ball playing ability, both of those guys. Look, we still have that, and if you potentially keep Huijsen, who also has a set of skills that could come in handy for Thiago Motta and his style of play. I just think we've ignored the midfield for too long. Coop has to be the guy for me. So I think we all stand firm. Did Giuntoli fumble with Calafiori? I don't think so. Not at all. But
No, the only interesting thing about it is, I mean, the only thing that separates them is that he's Italian, and we want an Italian core, and well, we get to that discussion. As far as Calafiori goes, he goes to a team with a great manager. Arteta is wonderful. Maybe you can improve him. For me, I think the better move for his career development is to go with Motta. Someone understands him, but it's not the end of the world. We have like 7 center backs right now, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's really, really fine. Maybe he'll come back. Barzali had the same. Like, he left for Wolfsburg relatively early when his name was trending. Came back in his 30s.
yeah,
Kiwi
Giallo's
or
like that new
exactly the
signing,
same.
you guys. I'm telling you. Like,
Yeah.
I have a feeling if you're looking at this guy and you were going to handpick him, if he popped up in rumors today, everyone would look at that profile and be like, hey, that makes sense for Thiago Motta. We already own him. And I understand skepticism because we didn't really see him last season. But was that out of spite because what was going on with Max and Giuntoli? Or, what was it actually? We can't base anything on last year because I said it the entire way through. I felt like Max's selections had a lot of favoritism thrown in there. And Szczesny's interview like a week ago kind of solidified that for me. So I'm not going to take a whole lot out of that. Thiago Giallo, I don't think Giuntoli signed him for nothing. I really don't. And we got him at an absolute steal of a price because, yes, he was coming off injury and still needing to recover, but that could pay out
Who isn't?
huge for us. Now, in terms of fumbling and whatnot, Koopmeiners, the price tag. Because the latest rumor is we're going to go all in at 50, 55 million plus bonus to try and get it, and we'll deal with the sales afterwards. It's too much money for Koopmeiners. Is it too much money for Koopmeiners? Trim.
No, it is not too much money. There are plenty of teams that are interested and were interested until he gave them the big middle finger and told them, I want to go to Juve and I only want to negotiate with Juve. So, I mean, if there's Premier League clubs that are interested and were willing to offer the same amount of money and he's shutting them down because he wants Juve, I don't think it is. And then also based on just the way he plays, I understand there was a comment I was just reading about, Atalanta players and them not being the same going somewhere else. Well, that's true for the most part, but I mean, eventually one of those players is actually going to stay and maintain his level, and Coop's going to be that guy of the bunch. You can just see it with the way he plays. Obviously, there's a reason why Motta and Giuntoli really want him part of Juve, and they feel that he can fit Motta's system. So I don't know. He's showed it for a couple seasons now at Atalanta. I don't see why he'll slow down now out of the blue. Again, obviously barring injury, but if this guy's playing, he's going to make a real impact on this team. So I don't think the price tag is too much. I would say it's more worth investing in him than it would have been in Calafiori.
All right. Now, Omer, is the price tag too high?
Well, I've said before that like 50 should be the max. 60 might feel a bit above what I was expecting, but the way that the market is structured and the way Giuntoli is planning on working and who to sell, like Keane came out of nowhere and allowed Kefren Thuram signing. So I'm sure he has a plan. I'm sure he's not going all out and spending all the budget he has on one guy. Because I do see a plan, and there's a lot of players that needs to be sold. So probably, yeah, I'd go with Giuntoli. I don't think it's just like this Paratici signing, spending everything on one guy, and then filling in the rest.
Yeah, so in the poll right now is 55 to 60 million too much for Koopmeiners. 57% believe no, it is not. So 43, and it's kind of in that range, 59%, 41%. So in favor of no, that is not too much. For me, I mean, it's dictated by the market, everybody. So
yeah, that's true, because they don't have the Juve tax. Like Atalanta don't add the Juve tax. They just, if there are higher offers, like at 60, they will ask Juve for 60, and like from the Premier League and stuff. But if there isn't, like they're filling the market for him.
Take a look at what's out there. What does 40 million euros get you? It gets you a player with one strong year that has high ceiling, high potential. That's what 40 million gets you. So to say that 50 to 60 is too much for a guy that's multiple seasons of good play, is the second best only to Çalhanoğlu in the Serie A last season. Like, I don't understand the outrage over that price. If they were at like 80 million, 70 million, 80 million, it's like, okay, this is getting crazy. But to say that 40 million is a standard price for guys on one good season, strong season with high potential that you paid for, Chiesa, Kulusevski, Bernardeschi, Paulo Dybala, etc., all at that price tag after a strong season, still with risk based on if they're going to hit that max potential or whatnot. How can we say a guy with years of solid play that could play anywhere in the middle of the park is not worth 50 to 60? It's bizarre to me.
And that's what's interesting about all of that. I mean, we need that guy who can play all around. And wait, I just lost my train of thought because of what you said earlier. You had a really good point. Okay, I'll circle back. Trim, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I think the biggest thing here is the versatility.
Mm-hmm.
There's versatility. He can occupy every position in the midfield. This is one of the fears many fans have, is that we're buying an Atalanta player for that price. He will not deliver when he comes to Juve. Yeah. I don't share that feeling. And the reason I don't share that feeling is because we're not talking about like a hybrid style position player. We're not talking about a guy that's only a 10. We're not talking about a wing back that may not be able to actually play fullback. You're talking about a midfielder. So for me, I don't actually have that fear. I think Coop slots in and he'll play wherever the hell you need him to, just like he did with Atalanta.
And let's not forget, that's not a youngster we're signing. That's not a 20, 22-year-old. That's a 26-year-old guy. He's in his prime. The best time to pay max amount of money for him is in his prime. That's what you have to pay for 26-year-olds with experience in the league, and not just one good season. So the price is fine. Like if Locatelli is 40, then Koopmeiners can be 60.
Yeah, and it's
one thing I just wanted to touch on, like, also, is that this will tie into another topic that we're going to bring up, but clearly the reason why they really want a guy like Coop is because of the versatility, and that ties into somebody else on this current roster that we feel is very one-dimensional, and that's why he could be on his way out.
Yeah. It's interesting. The question from Swery, why aren't bigger clubs than Juve going for him? Well, number one, let's not say bigger clubs than Juve because, that's the old lady, okay? So let's just say big clubs, okay? Why aren't big clubs going for him? Well, Slot, who is becoming Liverpool's manager, wants Koopmeiners. They were obviously together, and Coop did very well for him as well back in the day at Alkmaar there as well. So, I mean, they do, but his desire, this is another thing. We get into kind of this Italian thing and going another foreigner, etc. and all that. But this guy wants Juve. I thought for sure when Slot was appointed and going to become Liverpool's manager and they had interest in Atalanta, I thought for sure that's it. The fact that hasn't happened and Coop still wants Juve, that's like, let's go out and get him. He's a top mid in our league that we currently play. There's no adapting. There's no question marks. This guy slots in and he'll bring it. I have confidence. So what, for me, this nationality thing, and it ties into Chiesa, who we will get to next as well. But right now, I feel, I obviously feel the same. I always want Juve, and I think it's a priority of the biggest clubs in Italy to have that connection with the best Italian talent. However, you still have a duty, an obligation, okay, a responsibility to make this best, strongest possible squad you can going into every year, because your objectives don't take a back seat to nationalities. That's the number one. So for me right now, even this feeling that it's anti-Juve stuff in terms of the dealings, of course it is. It's always going to be. But right now, the main objective, the main thing I care about, I'm not looking at nationalities. I am looking at us getting the best damn possible squad possible going into 24-25 season. I'm not looking at the nationalities, at the players right now. Because right now it's about building the foundation for Giuntoli, for Motta, and then from there, you move and you act accordingly. And yes, this desire to have the best Italian talent, it should never fade and it should always be there. But you still have a major task of strengthening the team. And right now we're doing it under some limitations. But the nationality thing, I don't know if you need to focus on that so extremely right now. So let's just say, take 60 million away from Coop. We're not signing Coop. Okay, so who's the Italian name that you sign that you bring in right now that's going to bring you what Koopmeiners does?
There isn't one.
No one.
If the relationship is broken with Federico Chiesa, who's the next Italian winger that you want to bring in that will bring you what he can?
This is the whole thing.
Look at it this way. Okay, so we have the Juve tax, and you can't build an Italian team where half of the club saying we're not selling to Juve, or Juve will pay more if they want this and that player. So if not Calafiori, let's go by the players that were called up to the Euros. Who's next in line? Bastoni. Can we get Bastoni? No. Next in line, Mancini. Is anyone happy with it? No. That's like the top of Italian defenders right now. Next up, Buongiorno. Next up, Buongiorno, already signed by Napoli. Apparently, Juve offered money they didn't have for Buongiorno, trying to snatch him. Beyond that, I mean, what names are there? The pool of talent by nationality is a lot smaller, and we don't have a great pool of talent right now as it is. So gotta look abroad. You know, if you don't want to sell to us, fine, we'll leave the league and let those players go play there. Scamacca did great, right? Outside of Italy.
And this is why I say, if you look at our roster, Cambiaso, Fagioli, Locatelli, Gatti, you know, obviously Rugani, Perin, Di Gregorio, you got, like, there is still Italians in the mix. Some of these guys are going to be battling for a starting spot next season. Like Locatelli's going to be fighting for a starting spot, etc., whatnot. But yeah, you might have a starting roster that consists of Cambiaso, Di Gregorio, and Fagioli. And it's 3 Italians in there rather than, you know, half that we're accustomed to, whatnot. But
how many Italians were in Napoli where they won the Scudetto?
Yeah.
To Di Lorenzo and Meret. Milan before them, how many Italians? Calabria? Who else? Give me the names. Like, you can't build a team of Italian players right now.
It's a combination right now of priorities, really, before nationality. It's priority over nationality. And right now, again, I'm fine with anybody that might disagree that Coop's the priority, but I need a name. And the interesting thing is, while not everybody, the majority are shitting on this nationality thing, when I say give me a name that's not Coop, that's around that price tag that would have as big an impact, it's not an Italian player that they're naming. and that's the funny thing. It's just like they're not there. They're not there. They're not available. It's not logical. So right now, I totally understand Giuntoli and what he's doing. And so far, I don't really think he's fumbled anything. And I don't think he's really made any fuck-ups like some out there are saying, and some are still on the fence about Giuntoli and whatnot. I like the way he's moving. Federico Chiesa. Well, last rounds of talks, apparently all signs point to goodbye. Okay? Well, the feeling is, again, top Italian winger, like we're just saying, all this, and that main priority we were just talking about, the best possible squad you can in the 24-25 season. This is where this came in and said all the good. This is what someone hit me with on the daily update videos. All the good that we have done in these other couple moves is erased if we lose Chiesa because the team gets weaker. Thoughts on that? And I'm going to open this one up to Trim before we get to Omer here. So Trim, is it all erased? Should we, seemingly what's going to happen, say goodbye to Federico Chiesa?
Jeez, way to put me on the spot. I already had a tough go. My first go around, me and Omer were getting slammed by one of the
I don't mind going first. First.
No, I'll gladly go first. Well, so this is the enigma that is Chiesa. Like, we all appreciate the player for what he can bring, The problem is that he has not brought it consistently enough. And he's had a lot of turmoil since he's been here with various things, whether it's position, manager. It's been tough. Like, I feel like I can speak for the majority of the fan base when I say that. Like, we all want him to succeed, and we'd all like to see him stick around and produce and be the guy that we thought we were getting and paid for. But unfortunately, certain circumstances happened. He got hurt. He had a major injury in Rome. Hasn't been the same player since. And to be fair to him, we can't expect a player to go through an injury like that and come back and be the same player. Not many players in the history of the game have done that. Come back from that injury and actually either outperform their previous success or perform to that exact level. Usually they've taken a step back, and that's fair. So what I would say is, as an overall, like as a whole, the fans that are kind of criticizing him being on the market in Giuntoli and questioning all this, I think it's just personal because they really are attached to the player, and that's okay. And those fans should be able to admit it. Look, I really like this player. I don't think they should move him. It's a big mistake. But at the end of the day, what comes first is the badge on the shirt. And it doesn't matter about nationality. Right now, our biggest thing is we pose this question all the time to our buddy Severino. Shout out Sev if you're watching this later. He says who will come in and replace him if we sell Chiesa. And to be fair, there isn't anyone at this exact moment for the price tag, you could argue, that will replace him exactly at this high level. But I would argue a guy like Sancho, and I saw some comments earlier about, bad attitude and got banished from Man U. Sometimes it's just the situation. Perfect example is Chiesa with us right now. He can go somewhere else and probably flourish and play better. Yes, it will suck from Juventus standpoint as a fan to see him succeed somewhere else, but sometimes it's just about the mix and the fit. If the guy's not enjoying his time here, why do you want to keep someone and try to force things when you can move him along? Get the 25 million that people are saying is not enough. Yes, but it's in the last year of his contract that nobody remembers when you mention that to people. And you get a guy like Sancho and possibly another winger to add to the mix. We still have Sule, we have Yildiz. Like, it's a pretty good wing line up front there to complement Vlahovic, right? So that's just how I feel. Like, I want to keep him. I have his shirt. I have some t-shirts and merch of his, but at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like he wants to be here. And if he doesn't want to be here and make it work with Juve, then it's in Juve's best interest to move on. And it's harsh and it sucks, but that's just the reality. I want guys that want to be here, and that's it.
There has to be a deal. There has to be a deal there. I think the eye-opener here is it's 25 to 30 million euros, and the only team knocking is Roma. If that's not if that's not raising some flags and opening some eyes, I don't know what's going to. It feels like whenever you get into this discussion over Chiesa, the ones that are really fighting for him are putting him up in an echelon where I don't think he necessarily belongs based on the history and what has gone on here.
Yeah.
Who's the one with something to prove here? Juve or Chiesa? It's Fede. He wants... And the funniest thing about all of this, the money he's on right now is strong. It's strong financially. If you had a 1-year renewal in front of you as Fede Chiesa at the same money, and you're trying to go level with the guy we're trying to openly trying to bring down his wage in Dusan Vlahovic, what are you thinking? Like, this is the thing, is I put it all down to bad representation, just like it was with Paulo Dybala. And the proof is there. Dybala went, shopped himself, did all this. He ended up at Roma for less money. And the latest rumor is that the offer from Roma is 5.5 million a season for Chiesa, which is significantly less than he makes at Juve and less than what that 1-year bridge renewal on the same money would have been. So what are we doing here? Yeah, we want to continue with Chiesa and whatnot, but whether he's Italian or not has nothing to do with it because there's no agreement there. And if he truly wanted to stay at the club, I mean, you would have to look at the offers there. Are you willing to leave Juve? You were willing to put this at risk for Roma? For Napoli? Like, what are we talking about here? So the Chiesa thing, it sucks. It's not the story we would have written for this player and us as a club, but it's where we are currently, and business is business. Giuntoli set a deadline for Rabiot. We'll find out soon enough with Rabiot and Chiesa. I think it's no coincidence that the way the Euros ended abruptly for the Azzurri, and then we heard the rumors Chiesa was opening up, him and his agent, to that bridge renewal. I think it's gone. I think the relationship is broken. And it's done. I don't think the bridge gap renewal is even available to him anymore. And I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden the Sancho rumors take off. And whether that's some type of posturing, and maybe Chiesa and Juve are both battling each other right now and posturing up to ultimately renew, which I think would be great because in my opinion, the best outcome for both parties, Chiesa and Juve, is still to renew for one more season. Okay? But to say we shouldn't sell him for 25 to 30 million euros because it's too light, it's better to keep him, I disagree. Take what you can get when you can get it because there's no renewal. We can't lose him for nothing. I would rather take the capital and move on than keep him for one more year, get nothing, and lose him for free. That's just me. Omer.
Yeah, that's the gamble Juve are being asked to take. Like, bet on Chiesa now, maybe extend for one more season, bridge season, and what if he doesn't do well in that season too? Then his price drops even more. And right now, yeah, only Roma, and they're willing to offer 25, 30 maybe. I mean, Chiesa gotta read the signs on the wall himself. And if it doesn't work out, so what? Big deal. Like, I could have said the same about Giovinco. I knew the talent was there. He had some good moments. He had the goals, the assists, the love for the club, but it just didn't work out for a lot of different reasons. Before that, we can say Diego and Krasic. And then Conte came in and said, yeah, I don't need those guys. You can kick them out.
Yeah.
And going further down the line, it always happens. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Not everyone gets their fairy tale. And if Motta doesn't need him, says, I don't need this guy. I don't need him in my team. I don't need him for the way I play. We got to go with it. And I love Giovinco and I love Chiesa and I will love Chiesa in the future no matter where he goes. But still.
I'm going to say this right now. I'm not buying the rumors that Motta doesn't want him. It doesn't make sense. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that all of a sudden he wants Sule and wouldn't want Chiesa or whatnot. I'm not buying into that. I think this has been Giuntoli and Chiesa for a long time. Mm-hmm. Well before Motta, signed and the summer hit and whatnot. I think this has been going on for a while. I'm not buying into those rumors. I think it's just straight up business. Chiesa took a shot at the Euros. Nothing changed. And he tried to come back, I think, and it's not there. In terms of this comment, 10 million here and 5 million a year. No, that is not correct. So he is very close after bonuses to what Dusan makes. He's like 1.5 to 2 million away from that 12 million tag that Dusan's going to get. And that is gross. So he nets like 7 point something with Juve or whatnot. Like, yeah, it's quite a bit. It's healthy. Let's put it that way. But yeah, you can't look at these things as mistakes. It's just business. And sadly, there are players out there, and quite a few, with poor representation that lead them down these paths that they should not be traveling. And Chiesa is falling exactly in the same route Paulo Dybala was. And it's a shame, but there's no way you have a right, in my opinion, to ask for a pay hike when you're on a healthy salary for what you're producing, for what you are in the team. Like, you're currently the second highest earner after some of the guys said goodbye to Dusan Vlahovic. And we no longer currently own Rabiot and whatnot. You're the second highest earner. How is that not fair? I'm really failing to sympathize with Chiesa. And to be honest, these are the three things. Nationality, all this. Giuntoli, for me, hasn't fumbled a damn thing yet. And I think he's been doing a solid job so far. Now, as far as the team being strong enough, a lot of people on the fence about Sancho, Jadon Sancho, etc. There's a lot of questions in the live chat about alternatives. What are these alternatives going to be? Calafiori. Well, we talked about it. We might have the alternative there. I don't think we need to go crazy to the point of spending 50 mil on a center back, okay? And if we're looking at Chiesa, the alternatives, well, Sancho, this one, okay, I'm going to put it on a poll to try and gauge how everybody is here in the chat, because I feel like it's all over the place. I feel like the majority don't like Sancho, to be honest. But you guys, like, Sancho to Juve, the poll question's out there, yes or no. I'm just going to put it really simple in my own opinion. Out of the targets we've been hearing in the attack, I think it's largely underwhelming, but I think he leads it for me out of the candidates. That's really how I feel, and that's what it comes down to. You know, I know his numbers, they are not strong. But if you watch him play, and you watched him play last year and in Champions League for that run for Borussia Dortmund, you could see what he brings. And I actually think with Motta, it makes sense, but I'm open to it. A lot of the other names we heard, I wasn't into. I wasn't into Zaccagni. Felipe Anderson, I take him as a backup, like as a rotational piece, not your main man. You know, Zegrova, that's actually a cheap price, which could pay dividends. I'm open to it. But would I want him coming in being a main guy? I don't think so. Like, I'm fine with Sancho coming in. Right now, he's the most intriguing out of the guys we've heard, for me personally. Omer? Sancho.
I'm totally on the Sancho train. I've been there in the past January. We started getting linked to him, and I got a lot of pushback. But obviously, he did pretty damn well for Dortmund. And now he's back at United. They don't want him. I can see why Motta would want him. He's not like Chiesa is very much, head in the ground, sprint forward. That's the way he plays. That's the way he gets by players. He's a winger, a direct winger, what you would call. And Sancho is more of a, a facilitator. He participates a lot in the building of the attacks. He holds the ball for a long time. He has tons of assists. Like, that's his thing, more than goals. So I can see why tactically Motta would want him. Because he's not playing long balls. He doesn't need those guys who sprint into, open areas. He wants to build and hold on to the ball. So Sancho seems like a great addition to me. I'm not taking Man United experience as a measurement of anything. So yeah, I'm hands down Sancho.
There you go. Trim, your thoughts on Sancho?
Sancho at an outright purchase, I'm like 50-50. If we can make it a loan, that's like for sure. I would take him at a loan before obligation. Obviously, if Juve, in order to make the deal work, if they have to negotiate an obligation, then you got to set some pretty high numbers in there in terms of like maybe goals and games played and assists or something, right, to meet that obligation. But as a player, I mean, watching him play in game, as well as just seeing like highlights, but like highlight clips magnify it and obviously show the player's best things. So you can't just go based on that. But from what I saw when he played at Dortmund this season, it's like night and day compared to his Man United days, because I remember watching him at Man United and just it didn't work. So again, I can't stress enough that for him and the player that he's potentially trying to replace in Chiesa, sometimes it's just about the fit. Maybe they've just like they've worn out their stay at their current club. Who's to say that he either one can't go to another club and play well? So in terms of Sancho specifically, yeah, I'd like to see him here. I know that in the comments, a lot of people are saying that he doesn't track back and he doesn't play well defensively. Well, how do we know? If he wants to come here and he wants to play for Motta, he's going to have to do what the coach wants him to do. And if not, he's not going to play. So we can't just write guys off just based on certain things. It's very subjective in how we feel about them, and I understand that. But me personally, I think he can do well under Motta, and I think he would thrive in our system. It's just a matter of the will of the player. If the will of the player is he wants to come and play for Juve, then I'm all in.
Adeyemi is better coming in from Black Mama 17. Well, Adeyemi was one of the names rumored there, and he had mixed reviews amongst the fan base. When it comes to Sancho to Juve, 80% in the live chat, yes. All right, 80% are a yes for Sancho. Adeyemi was intriguing for me as well. Something's leading to me, and by the way, there were comments in there about the discipline, the individual, the personality and whatnot. Yeah, that is something that kind of follows Sancho there, but I don't think it's to a degree that's alarming or, very risky.
It followed Tevez.
Yes.
And he was not a problem for 1 second. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's the relationship with the coach, and there's a lot of personal things in it. And at Man United, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he wouldn't be the first one. A lot of players came out of there with like horrible stories. Schweinsteiger was sent to train with the youth team when he arrived.
Yeah.
Like, revealed it in an interview.
It's one of those things where, again, risk assessment, and that's going to be up to Giuntoli. That's going to be up to him and the club to look at their risks. Adeyemi, I think it's intriguing. Would I say, I think that's actually a close call between the two, but I give the edge to Sancho. Like, I would probably, if you put the two in front of me and say, you got to take one of these guys, I'd give the edge to Sancho based on what I've seen him do with them in Champions League last season. It's not the Bundesliga, as some are saying there. It is not compared to the Prem or even Serie A for them. No, but Champions League is Champions League, and that's a pretty good measurable there. In terms of, did he have issues at Dortmund? Alex P is asking. He did actually have very minor issues at Dortmund before going to Man U. And then, of course, Man U, I don't even know what to take with that club anymore, period, in general, with what you hear with any of their guys, whatnot. But it is what it is. So I'm not taking a whole bunch into it. And that's why I say I'm not really going to let that stop everything. The numbers are what's going to kind of maybe halt everything. 30 to 40 million euros, what Man U wants. He's on a salary that's like 10 million euros, but 4 mil of that is like bonuses from Man U. Otherwise, he's at 6, which is like completely feasible for us. Okay. Alexandro, that's like half of what this guy was taking gross, whatnot. So it's like, it's doable. It's doable. Okay. But outside of that, at forward, it's slim pickings, you guys. And I know that the main comment, going back to where we talk about Chiesa, is that's not an upgrade. And I have always been the one saying that this, if we lose a guy, you have to bring in upgrades and whatnot. But the thing is, with Chiesa, the relationship might be broken. So at that point, it becomes like a maintenance mode. And these aren't deals you're actively taking or whatnot. This is like, this relationship is broken. Like, are we ready to throw that money there? Some would say that's more of a risk. Because if Chiesa wants a longer term, Are we ready to do that and then maybe be in the same boat? Is this not an eye-opener if nobody's coming in at 30 million euros? Only Roma. So now we want to extend this guy. We want to give him more. And guys, I love Chiesa. Everybody knows that. I love Fede Chiesa. Okay. But you have to look at this. Nobody coming in. So we want to renew him for a little bit more money and take him a little bit longer when nobody's coming in now at 30 million euros. That's pretty risky. Risk assessment has to kick in. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So with the Sancho thing, he may not be an upgrade to many people's eyes, but he could become, because he's still young. He's what, 2 years younger than Fede? Pretty sure. Mm-hmm. 2 years 24. Younger, I believe. Fede's 26. 24. Sancho's 24. Just coming off a strong season. Like, obviously the stats aren't going to tell you that with Dortmund would not, but if you watched him play a strong season, yeah, I don't know. I just, something's got to give.
It doesn't have to score or assist a lot to go past Fede's best season. I mean, in terms of numbers, it's not like we're losing like 25 goals a season right now.
Yeah. We're not even losing double digit. So
yeah, that's maybe the highest we'll ever get for Chiesa, or we just okay, fine. We couldn't sell him. Maybe he'll do better at another club, and then they'll sell him for more.
Another thing to look at in all of this is Giuntoli kind of setting a tone, and just kind of something I've kind of hinted at quite some time now is like, he's got the club's best interest in mind. You could tell he's not getting strong-armed by players. And some might say, well, Giuntoli's getting strong-armed by these teams out there with these demands on the price and whatnot. But again, what did I say earlier? Build the foundation. Because if you think once he gets his strongest side built and he's got the base set up, if you think he's going to get strong-armed after that, no chance. No chance. This guy's already shown he's willing to take his business anywhere if the targets make sense and have to do with building the team. So, yeah, this is one of those things with Chiesa where Chiesa and his agent played the cards. Giuntoli's playing his, but I don't think he's getting strong-armed by players. Not at all. Szczesny, we wait for him to find a move. He's no longer in the project. Di Gregorio introduced yesterday, and I guess it was true all along with Alicia Lehman, all right? So Lehman coming in to the women's side. Look, Di Gregorio, number one, kind of a scary-looking individual, all right? I will say that, but I like it. I've liked the Di Gregorio move the entire time, okay? It's just good financially to 2029, low salary. This guy's been unreal for 2 years with Monza. Man, I really, really like this pickup. And come on, he's Italian. Let's go. Brought the entire family, my God, for that photo. They had to almost leave the building to get them all in there. It was cool. It's cool to see. I know that some fans have these feelings because he went through Inter's academy and everything like that. But look, hey, man, that's another guy that wanted Juve and whatnot. I will bring him in gladly. I'm happy to have Di Gregorio. Speaking of Di Gregorio, because he's done. Douglas Luiz is done. Khéphren Thuram, hey, all of a sudden quiet a couple days here, but expecting it to get finalized very, very soon. Koopmeiners, let's say we bring in Koopmeiners. Who out of that group do you think has the biggest impact on this team in the 24-25 season? Let's say we are bringing in Coop as well. Do you think it's actually going to be somebody we currently have that has the biggest impact on the team next season just because of switching games, game style, play, etc.? Trim, who do you think has the biggest impact?
Ooh. Okay, that's a tough one. I didn't even really consider players from the current roster that are here. I was just trying to kind of narrow it down to more of like the new guys brought in. I mean, you could even argue you could throw Motta in there because I mean, if we throw Motta in there,
Maybe
he
it's
would be
Malta.
considered. Yeah, he would be the one. It's so I kind of want to put him aside because it's not really fair. You just that's a cop out to take Motta because he's going to influence our whole style of play. Obviously,
Let's
changing it
make
up,
it
but.
players. Let's
Yeah.
talk players.
So if we're going players, again, we don't have them just yet. But if we do get land Koopmeiners, I really do believe he'll make the biggest impact strictly because he scores goals from the midfield that we did not have in the previous seasons. We've been missing that guy up top behind our striker. Again, he can play anywhere depending on the formation, but based on the projected lineups and the projected formation that we're seeing, a 4-2-3-1. He's going to play in the middle behind Vlahovic. He's going to be able to facilitate and distribute. What's going to be interesting is he's a great free kick taker, but we also have Luiz now. So I like the options there, and obviously we still have Dusan too. So between the three of those guys, I'm really curious to see them, kind of battle it out for who takes the free kicks. But again, right now I'm going to say Koopmeiners, hoping that we do get that deal over the finish line.
Okay. Omer, who has the biggest impact?
No, it has to be Koopmeiners. Considering age, longevity in the league, and familiarity with the area, language, everything. Yeah, I think it's gonna fit in like immediately.
Yeah.
Maybe thuram a bit more time. Maybe Douglas Luiz. I don't know. He's a bit older too, so maybe he'll adjust quickly. But it has to be Koopmeiners. I mean, Di Gregorio. It's not like we had a bad goalkeeper. We did have a bad midfield. A lot to improve in that regard. But Tech, I want to give him credit. What he said in his interview about satisfying the club needs. I mean, it was never an easy job for anyone to step in after Buffon.
Yeah.
No matter if it was Oblak or Ter Stegen or give me the best names out there stepping up after Buffon, that's a mission impossible. So he did his job. He did okay. He did great actually, and we had some great moments with him. He come out and said that he would like to respect his contract, but if that's what the club needs him to do, then the club gave him a lot, and he wants to give something back. I wish every player had this mentality.
Yeah.
And so kudos to him and thank him for everything he's done.
Yeah, I always we'll never take any credit away from Tech and whatnot, but the time comes where you got to move on, and it does help
He
us.
understands it.
It helps us a lot, and the fact that he's understanding that and willing to do that is, what can you do other than appreciate that? And I'm with you 100%. You're spot on that more players should kind of have that outlook and that gratefulness to the clubs. And that's kind of one of the things with Fede that upsets me is I don't feel he's necessarily grateful in, that stance. And that might rub some Juventini the wrong way that I'm saying that, but it's kind of how I felt with this drama and this saga. Now I'm at the point I want it to end. Who has the biggest impact? Coop. It's Coop. But I am extremely interested in seeing how Malta will view Fagioli in terms of playing him, deploying him and whatnot, because if a guy like, Ferguson has this type of season with Malta and whatnot, there's been a lot of guys shouting for Fagioli to be more advanced. And when you watch him in training sessions and the highlights come out, whatnot, and this guy is popping in bangers from the top of the area and in the box there and stuff like that. It's like, get this guy forward and doing that. But with Koopmeiners, it's going to be difficult because obviously he's going to be a main go, especially if you're splashing like that. But Fagioli in that role under Motta could be tremendous. So it's going to be really, really cool to see. I'm excited. I'm getting excited for this roster to shape up and see what the season holds and everything. We had some outside little news today. Art Doors got 4 teams interested, okay? If Giuntoli moves this guy on a final, okay, we got the first level of the statue starting to be put together, okay? So we'll start with the feet, okay? But Tammy Abraham thrown out there today in some loose rumors as an option. Brian Blavich. I'm not really sure about Abraham under Motta's set, but I'm also not really sure about Vlahovic in Motta's setup. But ultimately, I think Motta will figure it out and work through it and whatnot. But Tammy Abraham, some loose rumors there. Rugani apparently has a €5 million price tag. This one makes no sense to me, guys. Keep him around. More than reliable over the past couple of years. That's what I would do. Just keep him around. Huijsen is kind of this one where, you know, we got to kind of think about if it's going to stop a transfer that helps us, then I'm probably not keeping him. But if it doesn't really do much for us, just keep him around. Like if the offers aren't hitting the 30 mil mark minimum where we want, I probably just keep him around. But he represents this kind of weird little scenario where we all kind of feel like he's going to eventually leave us. Do we want to bank on this guy? Like, would you shut down a move now for him? Like, where are you at with Huijsen? Should we keep him? Should we sell him? Like, where are you guys at with Huijsen? Omer.
I think I'm still on the sell him side of things. And just because the price he can bring, look, someone's going to leave. You know, for in the defense, like it's not going to be Danilo, it's not going to be Bremer. Gatti, I don't know. There's been some rumors. Rugani, Jalo is staying, and we have Gonzalez possibly going out on loan, maybe even to bring in Samardzic for some reason. So yes, someone has to go, and right now it seems like they're listening to offers on anyone that isn't Bremer or Danilo. And fine, Rugani, they just extended him. I don't know why they would want to transfer him. Maybe he wants it. I don't know. That's what's the report being, that he's open to moving to Al Hilal or whoever.
Well, it's strange because we hear that like Juve wants to keep him, but they'll accept €5 million. Like you're hearing both reports. It's like, no, we want to keep him, but 5 million comes around, we'll sell him. 5 million. It's like, what?
Yeah,
just keep the
a lot
reliability.
of contradicting reports. Yeah, a lot of contradicting reports these
Yeah.
days, coming from everywhere.
Now, Mark 1 says we should keep Huijsen. We will be doing a huge mistake if we lose him for just 25 million or less. Well, I wouldn't expect us selling them for less than 25 million. They're trying to shoot for 30, but I feel like this guy is always leaving no matter what. I feel that way. Like, I don't think we're making a massive mistake. I always said, like, I want to keep him. But I do feel like eventually he's leaving anyways. If he could stay long-term, if they had some type of intel that he's going to stay long-term with Juve, I would love to see him stay with us. I think he's incredibly talented, like, has a high ceiling. But if that money is the difference in significantly boosting this team with a ready now player, I'm in. You know, Trim?
Yeah, like I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth on this. I mean, I'd like to see him maybe in training and preseason, but at the same time, if a big enough offer comes in, you got to kind of strike while the iron's hot. Obviously, we all kind of forecast down the road his potential growing, and we see the kind of player that he is now. He makes a lot of mistakes. Obviously, he's still young, but forecasting and projecting, we see the upside. We see that he can be a phenomenal player down the road. But if we can get someone for the here and now, we don't have time to wait for these guys, unfortunately, right? So we kind of, we've mentioned this before in previous shows, Berto, that we want to win this year because we've done a lot of losing in the past few seasons. So if we can get someone that can replace him at about the same price, and we're able to sell him now, who knows? His value may never go higher than it is right now. So if the right offer comes in and we have a good replacement that we can look into, like, for example, maybe a Todibo, if he's still available at Nice, we just hooked up with them to get Thuram, then I would say go for it. And again, the biggest reason too, as we've all hinted on, is the player is going to use us as a stepping stone. He wants to, potentially progress to what he feels are bigger clubs and bigger opportunities. And if that's what he feels and he doesn't want to stick around long term, then you sell him and move
Yeah.
on.
It's gonna be interesting to see these little outliers and how it goes. But I can't see us in a scenario where we move Hoyson and we move Rugani. The
Yeah.
Rugani one doesn't really make sense. Hoyson does, because if we do go all in on Koopmeiners, we're gonna have to write the books. So it'll be interesting to see what develops there. But fans are kind of all, getting a little bit bent out of shape because of the young guys. Illing Jr. taken off, Barnechea taken off in that Douglas Luiz deal. Now the thought of selling Hoyson, the potential that Sule might still move. And it's like, we are getting rid of all our young guys. Like, what are we doing? Well, for me, it's, again, the main priority. Strongest possible squad for the 24-25 season. Ready now players should take precedent over young guys. You won't win with hopes and dreams. And I've said this a lot over this past season, but the next gen project, to me, it came in clutch right now when we're trying to cut into those deficits, but ultimately it's a cash cow. Ultimately, only the elite will make it in to the first team squad if we get things right. You shouldn't be expecting 8 young guys a season coming in, getting integrated. No, like, that's not going to be the case. But next gen is still massive. Yildiz, I brought this up, and I've got a little bit of this feeling about Yildiz, and I kind of have a little bit of this fear around Yildiz. And it's kind of like, we all want him to succeed, and he's 19. He's a phenom. He's a great dribbler. Like, he's exciting to watch. It's exciting in general, but he's miles ahead of the next gen project. He can't go there. But I can't help but watching, even in the Euros and with us, I was feeling like he's still not quite there to the point where you can lean on him as this main guy for a whole year going into next year. I kind of feel that way. Like, am I alone in this with Yildiz? Do you guys kind of have the same sentiments?
No, maybe not to that degree, but yeah, Juve, they would be stupid um, putting all their hopes in an 18-year-old. And he gets a lot of experience right now by playing where he's playing, but we can't build our squad around him just yet. And I don't think they intend to do that. I don't think Motta has a plan of putting it all on whether Yildiz is there or not. I don't think we have the luxury to do that anyway. And he needs time. He's an 18-year-old kid still. As talented as he may be, we gotta be patient with him.
Yeah, it's the thing. But like, him being the main guy next, he's one of the main guys in a lot of people's lineup at some point. I kind of like, I have this concern that I don't know. If it doesn't pan out, doesn't work out, where are you at? Where are you at? You just ride it out? Do you keep riding it out if, say, he struggles through a season? You keep going at it the next season, or do you loan him? Like, what? I just have this fear. I have this fear that, like, I don't know if we're ready to just take that on as a main staple in a starting 11 for Juve in the 24-25 season. That's all. I love Yildiz. I'm very excited for him, and very well aware of his ceiling and his potential and where he could go, right? But Trim, what do you think about him being one of these main protagonists in a starting 11 for Juve 24-25 season?
Yeah, like, what I would say is, the best way I can describe him is, he's definitely not a finished product, and for obvious reasons based on age. So he needs more experience, more game time, having those moments of, winning big games, heartbreaking losses, all that stuff in between. Like, he just needs to experience that. So I think the best way for the club to approach him is, he's integrated into the squad. I wouldn't say that he should be a guaranteed starter as of yet, but if they start him in the beginning of the season and base his position in the lineup on his performances, then you go from there. Because if he has a rough start at the beginning, then you can kind of integrate him in and out, like coming off the bench or whatnot. So I would say that. But I think for me, when it comes to fear, it's funny, Berto, because my fear with him is not so much that he is not a finished product and that we're relying so heavily on him. My fear with him is that all of this hype is going to get to his head and he's going to feel like he's exploding into this stratosphere that he's like world class and he's going to want to push for a move down the road. Ultimately, I think that will happen, like in terms of him wanting to move on, because players come and go. But that's my fear with him in, I would say, the next maybe year or 2 years or so, especially if he starts to produce and starts to become what we think he's shown and can be. So I'm more fearful of that. In terms of them putting all their eggs in his basket, so to speak, and rely on him, I don't think they're going to do that just yet. That's just the sense that I get. But he's going to be a very good player, obviously, and a good complementary piece right now. And like I said, you got to ride it out for this season to see what a full season will do under his belt of getting consistent minutes, and then kind of reevaluate maybe at the end of this season.
I think you guys are looking too far ahead.
Yeah, that
into
too.
the future.
Yeah.
And we have an exciting young talent right now who's getting tons of experience playing in the Euros, starting for the country of his parents, which actually says a lot for me that he chose to play for Turkey while being born in Germany and having the ability to play for Germany, which makes me believe that if he's here at Juve, it's because he wants to be here. It's a PR miracle for Juve that Del Piero is his favorite player and the same celebration and everything. And we have a season ahead of us with an exciting youngster and a manager who knows how to develop youngsters. And I'm super excited about it.
Nobody's not excited, and it's not looking way too far ahead. No, we're looking at 24-25 season. Should he be a pivotal starter in that team? What's it going to do to his development if it doesn't go right? That's a fair question. And when you look at the history on the young guys that come in, and even if you want it, because a lot of the comparisons out there are with these big clubs do it in a very methodical fashion. It's not, here's this shiny new toy, fucking boom. No, it's a gradual build into boom, now you're a mainstay. So Yildiz has been fast-tracked, like big time. So it's a fair question to be a little bit concerned that if he's going into a season, if we're building this squad and he's coming out as a starter, I kind of have doubts about that and what it's going to do to his development based on what I see at the Euros and based on what I see with him last season. Because you could tell he's not there. For me, he was not there last year to be a starter for us. He wasn't there. Like, Chiesa was clear in terms of effectiveness in the lineup there. Now, the argument is Yildiz should be more central. In a 4-2-3-1, he could go. But if Yildiz is like an answer and going to be a starter, my fear is I don't know if I'm willing to do that. I would much rather have Yildiz coming in to games, starting occasionally, but not being this main guy for us, because I think it's ultimately going to be easier for him.
He's not going. I don't think he's going to be the main guy. I don't think Motta and Juve are
perfect.
Him as he's
but the question was brought up because the majority of the fans in their starting 11 next season have him on there, and I'm like, I don't think I do, and I don't want it.
Yeah, well, I think it's more of excitement from the youngsters. We have no idea which way he's going to play. We don't have a lot of wingers as it is. So I'm not really sure we're playing the whole wing game. And like we think we will see, I think it's going to be a lot more focused on midfield. Yeah, I think he is better in midfield, but I can't compare him to like Chiesa. It's not the same type of player.
Yeah.
And so I'm not expecting the same roles, and well, not salary wise, not age wise. I mean, he needs time more than anything, and he'll get it and get a lot of it this season. This is going to be the longest Serie A season ever.
Well, we'll see, but I think we need some help up top. Mark being real blunt about it, our forward line sucks. It needs work, you know. I'm just not ready to put a lot of hope in a 19-year-old. That's all I'm saying. You know, like, I want him to integrate. I don't want to add to this really accelerated thing with Yildiz. That's all. I'm trying to like keep it level. So we'll see what happens. Be interesting, guys. Holy Christ, we have been rolling today. The live chat's been on absolute fire. You guys, drop your likes in there, okay? And let's get to some Storm the Barn. We have a bunch in there. I don't know if we're gonna get to all of them, but we do have some time. Let's see what we can get. George, is a bidding war from the Premier League clubs about Chiesa possible? Reports are there are teams interested. I don't know, man. It's been quiet on the front abroad, man. Like Bayern with some loose interest. I think there was one Prem club listed. I think it's Italy if he moves. We heard the rumor that he wanted to go abroad yesterday. It was a very weak source. And then today, of course, we're hearing that no, it's not that his desire is to leave Italy. It's best possible scenario for him. And right now, I think he's got 5.5 on the table from Roma. Let's see. But a bidding war from Prem clubs, I am not going to hold my breath. No. Can't see it happening. Who do you think is better, Fede or Sancho? Fede. I think Fede is better. But it doesn't matter to us right now because I think the relationship is broken. That's my answer. Who's better, boys?
Oh, I hate answering that question. No idea. I don't see them as the same type of player. I don't know who's better. I won't tell. I've never seen Chiesa play outside of Italy. I've never seen Sancho play in Italy. They're playing very different types of games in different leagues. That's not a comparison. I can bluntly say, yeah, this guy's 100% better.
Throw it out there. Come on. Trim, who's better?
I'll go ahead. I'll just go out on a limb. I mean, for right now, from what I've seen and just from what both players have shown, I go Fede. But again,
because that is how I'm answering it. In a vacuum, you've got these two guys in front of you. Yeah. I would choose Fede, personally. You know, in a vacuum, nothing else around, two players, pick one, I'd pick Fede. But that's, of course, all the other variables out the window. You know?
Fine, Fede. Yeah. Okay, he's better.
Drop an early Storm the Barn from Forza Juve has had to take off. I'm on vacation in Italy and I'm going to the stadium tomorrow. Any tips on what to do in Turin? Oh my God. So for the show here, it's very, very challenging because I have to go through. I have like an actual set thing I have to dig up, but I can hook you up. When you watch a playback, hit out to us. But there's a ton of awesome things to do in Turin. And honestly, I can't stress enough reaching out to Maurizio from around Turin in some capacity because this guy, literally, that's what he does. That's his life. Is, you know, he's got a job, a very, very important job aside from that. But like around Turin, there's second to none. The stadium tour, absolute must. But the city... Holy Christ, the city and surrounding areas, a ton of good things to do. It just depends what you're into. That's why I say reach out. We'll hook you up, all right? Now, does management think Motta does not need to buy a center back who can pass? I get Calafiori is too expensive, but selling Huijsen will just leave us short. Thiago Giallo. He can do it. He can do it. Does anybody... think Gatti could maybe be better and improve under Thiago Motta? Luca center back, Alex B. This hashtag's never going away. All right, it's gonna keep it rolling there. But Luca maybe, but I'm honestly, you guys, I think Jallo will be like a new signing. He fits him. But as far as Gatti, and I know that there's going to be a lot of no's for Gatti. There's quite a few yeses in the live already. I think Gatti could be very, very interesting for Malta. But are we left short? I don't feel like we're short at the back. I don't feel that way. Are we short? Short
We're
at the
short.
back?
We're short at fullback, but
Full
yeah,
back,
center.
but not center back.
No, no, we're stacked at center back right now.
Yeah, like there's a lot of traffic there. Like Gatti's going to be interesting because of how Mota pushes up a center back usually into like the midfield to kind of assist with things. I see Gatti kind of sliding in, could be interesting. Rugani staying is a must for me. Danilo's versatility can help, and he's decent at playing the ball. I don't think we're hurting. I think fullback, got to find an answer at fullback for me. I'm with Omer on that one. Mark 1. Is Greenwood out of Juve's plans? Other Italian clubs are also interested on the player. I was hearing, what was it, Lazio?
Yeah,
That
Yep.
makes perfect sense.
yeah.
As far as Juve's plans, I think we got the news 3 weeks ago that it seems like, yeah, it wasn't going to happen with Greenwood and Juventus. So that was about 3 weeks ago we got that. And to be honest, everybody knows where I stand on it. We don't need to reiterate or anything, but it's always been a strong no from me on Greenwood. So I think we all agree the team will need 4 wingers next year. Who will they be? Weah seems to be out of plans. So we have Yildiz, Sule, probably a transfer, and who? Another one. I actually would keep Weah. I would keep Weah to play him as one of these wingers. I think after a season playing with Allegri in that 3-5-2 and gaining the tactical awareness defensively would actually be crucial for him in this next year with Malta. So I wouldn't get rid of him. I would keep Way around, personally. But who are the wingers going to be? I don't know if Sule stays. That's still completely up in the air. With Sule and Huijsen, it just feels like, where are the offers coming from? Who's going to get that strong offer? That's what it feels like. What would you guys do with Weah, and what do you think with the forward line?
I'm definitely keeping him. Definitely, we can't say we need patience with everyone and then one bad season under Allegri. Tons of excuses for other players, but when it comes to where, no, he was shit no matter who the coach was. It's been 1 year, tough adjustment. Now I want to see him another season. I want to see what he can do with a different manager. Still young, a lot of time. We're not hanging all our hopes on him. It didn't cost us a lot of money. He's not a lot on the books. So yeah, definitely keep him. We do need wingers. Another interesting thing that happened yesterday is that Juve, aside from telling Thuram he can't go to the Olympics, they also told the same to Sule because they want them to start the season, the training camp with Juve right from the beginning, and the Olympics will take them all the way to August, and they will arrive very late. Also, Huijsen too. I think Huijsen was the third one called back.
If
Uh,
It's interesting you brought that up. How do you guys feel about Juve freezing players out from the Olympics?
Good, good. They're doing exactly what they need to do. Like we said earlier, standing by their own rules. We have a team to build. We are not going to play this PR bullshit. I'm sure the players knew about it before. I mean, Thuram knew about it before signing, and I don't think he was surprised them. And yeah, I think it's a good move. We don't have time to waste, and we don't have the luxury of sending players to another tournament. Bring them
Yeah.
back from the beginning. We need them ready for the season.
Yeah, Trim, you agree? Freezing out these guys from the Olympics?
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. Obviously, athletes in general, they've always, I'm sure, dream about playing in the Olympics, but I don't know, maybe bias aside, I think it depends on the sport. And in this case, like, there are other bigger things for a footballer in terms of, club World Cup, Champions League, like that to me is something you focus on as a footballer. Obviously, Olympics would be nice. Like I said, it's a worldwide thing, but I think if that's Juve's kind of how do you say it? Like mantra, like they want to keep their players close to home so that they can start training because it just doesn't coincide with the timing of the start of the season. Then you hang on to those players and you just let them know, hey, we just prefer if you stay close to home and train with us and start to get into preseason and the start of the season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the signs Juve are putting out is that they're very serious about what they're doing. We don't have time to fuck around. We're not going to do the US tour because it takes up a lot of time. We're going to stay close to home. You can go to the Olympics. We need you early on. It would be stupid from Juve's point of view to sign thuram knowing they'll only get him back for training when the season starts or is already starting. So everything is calculated. Juve are fully focused on this rebuild thing, and I love it.
Yeah.
That's
the
another
thing
sign.
is that obviously, yeah, it could bring some resentment from the players, but I think that really is up to the club to decide and the players behind the scenes because they're the ones having the discussion. But I'm not fearful of any resentment from this because the truth be told, in the world of football, the Olympic Games aren't massive, like in terms of how the players hold to it and whatnot. But some players are obviously they're all different individuals. Some players might rate that experience massively and want it. But again, that's between them to all decide. And if the player had an issue, they don't necessarily have to agree to it. So it's one of those things where these players have seemingly agreed to it. So it is what it is. I'm not really thinking about it too much, but it's just interesting to get everybody's views on it and where they stand. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I like that because again, to Omer's point and my point from earlier, Giuntoli is doing everything in the club's best interest.
Yep.
Juve first, which 1000% has to be the case. He probably walked into this friggin' team, saw the automatic renewals, saw these automatic options, like all this, and was thinking, good God, what is going on? The players are in total control, and things are kind of changing. It's not Club Med anymore, So here it is. We're going to get to a few more here. Holy, there's a lot in here, you guys. If we miss some of yours, it's okay, is what it is. What is okay, do you think, for Mark, Kvaratskhelia is the best left back in Serie A? I think he is. Easy answer, no, he's not the best left back. He's not the best fullback whatsoever. But left winger, yeah. Obviously. Is Kvaratskhelia the best left winger in Serie A? Based on the past couple seasons?
Or based on the Euros?
Based on the past couple seasons, I would say yes. Over the past couple seasons, yes. Together. No. Last season, no. Because he wasn't just left wing. He was playing everywhere. But this is what brings his value up for me. Is the fact he was moved around everywhere last season and still performed. He had a little bit of a lull there in the season, but Leao seems to only give a shit here and there. Yeah. And his Euros is really speaking volumes on that guy, I think, personally. Chiesa, he's in the mix. He's in the mix, but Kvaratskhelia showed his versatility last season, and for what he can do with a team like Georgia, I don't know, man. He's definitely up there. Who's the best left winger if it's not him?
From guys who actually play as left wingers and not just listed as ones, I think it's Leao. But I mean, you can make a shout. No, well, you can't for like thuram or Lookman, guys who on the sheet it looks like they're centrally, but they're drifting to the left all the time, and then it opens up a bunch of other possibilities. but I don't think he's the best. I think Leao is not miles ahead, but still a better player.
Yeah, I don't know. Trim, who's the best?
For me, it's a mixed bag any day of the week between the three of them, Kvaratskhelia, Chiesa, Leao. Like, I mean, one week,
Yeah.
depending on the performance, it could be Kvaratskhelia. The next week, it could be Leao. The next week, it could be Chiesa. That's kind of just been the conundrum that's been the left wing position in Serie A in general. None of those players have been consistent enough. I mean, you could argue Kvaratskhelia over the last few years since he's kind of hit the scene. He's been the most consistent of the bunch. But yeah, it's so hard to like almost like splitting hairs. I mean, if I had to choose one, I'd probably say Kvaratskhelia. But it's more recency bias than anything, right? Obviously, we'd all love to put Chiesa up there, but again, the performances just haven't been consistent enough to be there.
Yeah, and I mean, they all have these factors around, but I don't know, man. Like Leao to me, I think he's got a ton of talent and ability. Obviously, nobody could say any differently, but I just see like way too many games where I don't know, feels like he's not even out there. Like and that he doesn't even friggin' care to be. I don't know.
Mhm.
At least, I'll lean towards a guy like Kvaratskhelia over him just because it never seems that way with him. Like he's always at least working his bag off, doing something. Like I see too much ghosting there for him to be like he's the guy. If you're talking pure talent and ability, yeah, maybe I'd go Leao over all
Yeah.
those guys. But factoring in some of the other things, I don't
Can we
know.
say so? Can we say that all three of them are not world class at the moment? They have world class moments in games,
Yeah,
some a
you
bit
could
more,
easily
some
say
less,
that.
and
but they're
world-class
not
traits, yeah.
not one of them benches Vini Jr.
No,
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 no.
God, no.
Not even close.
God,
So
no.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
top level.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
That's the bar. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Now, I think we've got time. One more. We're going to take this one on. What is it? Who is more corrupt? FIGC or Copa America? My lord. I have not seen any officiating as bad as the Copa, and I have been watching Serie A for decades. Copa America, to me, every game I watch feels like it is two prisons meeting up for a match in the yard. Like, it is insanity to me. Like
Yeah.
Copa America, but yeah, the officiating is you guys know how I feel. I think the officiating is just shit everywhere, like to be quite honest and frank. Like, but the Copa America is oh, it is wild. Like it's it's a lot, man. If you're watching it's funny here because you watch the Euro games first in the morning here, and then you get to the Copa America at night, and I'm like, what a contrast in terms of the football. It's just wild. But I enjoy it. You know, I have no problem with the bloodbath between these feelings, but Copa is wild. It's wild. Totally different tournament. So far, what are you guys' thoughts on these tournaments? And if you had to say, like, with the corruption or anything, or just the officiating in general, your thoughts on Euros, your thoughts on Copa. Trim, go ahead.
Well, being a Canadian and supporting my team here, obviously paid close attention to that game last night. Go watch the highlights of that game last night. That'll sum up the officiating in Copa. Like it was insane. Like yeah, it was just like two teams pretty much beating up on each other, one more so than the other. But again, I'll try to put my bias aside, But you know, um, yeah, just go watch the highlights. It's crazy. The tournament itself, in terms of the quality, we were kind of joking about it yesterday. My brother-in-law and I were like, in comparison to the Euros, there is no comparison. Like the quality of the Euro tournament is much better. That being said, I think there's still something left to be desired about the Euro and the lack of goal scoring. I know we might touch on that after quickly, but yeah, in terms of watching both, the quality, like I said, is higher in the Euro. But as a Canadian, obviously, I'm happy about what's going on with the Copa. That being said, in terms of the corruption, it's not even close. It's FIGC. I mean, what organization is like basically self-sabotage? Like, do we know that self-sabotages themselves and just the way they go about things? It's so political, the way they, put Spalletti in charge and picking the players and the team. I mean, just look at our results pretty much ever since '06. Like, I mean, it speaks volumes that since the '06 World Cup, we've missed 2 World Cups. We've won a Euro in there that was, a lot of people feel that we got kind of lucky in a sense. And it was just like all the stars aligned. And other than that, we've been mediocre going out in group stages in the few World Cups that we made, or a couple that we made. But like I said, we missed 2. We have to qualify for 2026. I don't know about you guys. I'm really nervous about it. I understand that there's more teams going to be added to this go around, but still, they have to qualify. And it just, to me, it comes down to the talent pool in Italy too. I mean, it speaks for itself. It's not there. So yeah, that's kind of
Brazil versus Uruguay. What do you think? Is this
Brazil.
one? This Brazilian side doesn't feel like a standard, typical Brazilian side we're used to or accustomed to. But Omer, your thoughts on these tournaments? Brazil, Uruguay. Your thoughts? Like, who's gonna win Copa? Who's gonna win Euros?
I think it's somehow set up that Messi would win it again somehow.
Yep.
No idea how. It doesn't feel like this Brazil are up for it right now. But I haven't been following the Copa as closely as I've had before. In terms of the Euros, yeah, very disappointing from the big teams. I mean, the stats on Portugal and France are shocking. Like, how many goals does France have? Like 2, a penalty.
France has no open play goals. They are in the semifinals.
Yeah, and they're in the semis. That's pathetic. I'm sorry. That's not why we're gathered here to watch football. There's a huge problem with strikers. But I mean, in terms of corruption, yeah, you can say they're both corrupt, but they don't even lick the boots of UEFA in terms of corruption.
Yeah.
Just now you have like Bellingham. I mean, Demiral is suspended for 2 matches, and Bellingham is suspended for a match of his choosing in the coming year or something like that. I have no idea. I've never heard that rule before. Now they're allowing City and United to play with Girona, and I can't remember who else were sister clubs. So they changed the rule for them, so they'll be able to play in the Champions League together. I mean, it's a corruption fest, and we're kind of used to it.
So Omer says Argentina, it's somehow going to be rigged to it. Trim, your winner for Copa America.
It's Canada, man. Come on. What are we talking about? No.
I'll take it.
No.
Somebody's got thrown out there. No. Yeah, same. I think it's going to be Argentina going through and winning it. As for the Brazil-Uruguay match, there's a lot of shouts Uruguay to win it. I have a feeling Brazil finds a way. In terms of the Euros, you could see here yesterday, well, the corruption never stops. That was a handball. All right. That was a handball. Now that's interesting.
It's not corruption. We know Anthony Taylor is a shit referee. That has nothing to do with it.
That is a handball though. That's a handball.
100% a handball.
I understand the discussion of, well, his intention, he's bringing his arm in. It doesn't matter because when the ball hits his hand, his arm is out there. Frank Zappa there, Cucaracho, whatever the fuck you're called, that is a handball, sir. And the dirty Spanish and Omar move on to face Lex and the French in the semifinals. And look at this on the other side. Talk about corruption. I always get thrown out under the bus. The guy who ran the draw, Skanga, has 2 teams. One team guaranteed to go in the final. And then his right-hand man, Lucci, with his 2 teams on it. Oh, how fitting. How fitting. Yet I'm the one brought up for corruption. Listen, if there's any mutts that could screw this up and still not win, it's Skanga and Lucci, all right? So my money is on Omer and the Spanish taking this thing. Who's going to win the Euros, boys? Let's go. Trim, who's winning the Euros?
Well, if my Netherlands Dutch freaky deaky Dutch team wins, I guess I got to hold myself accountable and dye my hair orange. So let's hope they get through and they win it, and then I'll dye my hair orange and take a nice pic and send it up there on the main. But no, if we're being serious, the best team that's still around is Spain. That's going to be a really interesting match though against France, because how they managed to get to the semis and not score an open play goal is beyond me. So it'll be interesting. But, keep an eye on Switzerland. They'll be a dark horse. But yeah, for me, I want to win. I want us to win the tournament or win this competition. But I think Spain's the strongest team that's left standing.
Yeah, I think it's clear. Omer, not just because they're your team, but do you think Spain's taking this thing?
No, they actually have goals to their name. I mean, yeah, they are taking this thing, and they have conceded one goal now, and one own goal.
Yeah.
So they're solid defensively. They're solid offensively, especially compared to the other teams. Yeah, they seem like the strongest now. They lost Pedri for the rest of the tournament. That might be a blow.
Yeah.
Carvajal,
but they can cover. They can cover though, so they can cover. Man, and that was one of the things. Like Germany. That was a good game. That was a really good game to watch, Germany-Spain. But you could tell in the middle of the pitch there, they were a day late, especially Emery Can. Holy shit, he had no business in that game yesterday. So slow in there. He could barely retain the ball because the Spanish side was so much faster and flooding them. At least Cruz could retain the ball and distribute still. But Can, holy crap. And Rudiger was a fucking nightmare out there yesterday. Good Lord. He got possessed by Mancini, for Christ's sake. He looked like a mess. Okay, Rudiger there. But today, the Dutch and the Turks, who are we thinking goes through there?
I think it's the Dutch.
The Dutch?
Yeah, I'm going
I
with
think they'll find a way.
Yeah, I think the Dutch will go through there. I don't know how many goals Demiral has in him to keep carrying Turkey through there, so I'm going to go with the Dutch.
Well, none, because he's suspended for 2 matches.
And there you go. Yeah. Switzerland, England.
Oh, I'm going with
I want
Swiss.
it to be the Swiss. Yeah, I want it to be the
Swiss. They're going to do it today. They're going to upset them, I think. I think they got it in them.
England has not been, and you look at the big teams that haven't really been, instilling confidence. That's one of them. Yeah. And I don't know if they get a boost from that, comeback win from Slovakia, in which Team Alberto got screwed again. But anyways, they might take a boost from there and get cooking, but I just don't see it happening. I think it's a poorly coached squad, to be honest. I think they have a talented squad, but poorly managed. Swiss are playing with free money now, and that's always dangerous. So I think it's a tight one. I wouldn't be surprised if that thing goes extra time, to be honest with you. And maybe you see kicks today. Let's see. But enjoy the games, the competition. You could see we know Omer Lex in the semis, and we are going to guarantee ourselves of the Tonys versus Lucci in the other semis. Let's have fun with it. You guys, the live show today, the live chat, you guys have been fantastic. Amazing stuff. I'm going to be with you the rest of the way, all of us through the mercato. Another daily update video tomorrow. But you guys know the drill. Drop a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share the content. Let's keep growing the AJC Army, everybody. Enjoy your weekends. Omer, Trim, absolute pleasure, boys. And no matter what, everybody, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. Enjoy the mercato for what it is. And Giuntoli has not fucked anything up. Not yet. All right.
Cooking.
Still cooking, baby. Still cooking. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.